There must be some sort of driving force in you, because to run a 400 employee company is not easy.
It's part of our mission. Our mission has been like, how do we empower creators? We're not competing with the other studios, the other developers. We're not competing with the platform. We are not trying to take advantage of one part or another. They have that ability to accept that they might not be in the right and they need to adapt. It's being an entrepreneur is all about flexibility. It's not about being right all the time.
Hey guys, this show's main objective is to basically inspire all of you to become the best versions of yourself, where we interview amazing entrepreneurs, people that have created an impact in the world through their business, through what they've done. And today I'm joined by Mr. Sebastian, who is the COO of the Sandbox. He has a company that has 8 regional offices worldwide and has over 400 employees right now. It's an honor, and he's here with me in Bangkok, Thailand. So join me in welcoming our special guest today, Mr. Sebastian.
Thank you.
Well, first off, welcome back to Thailand. It's an honor to have you back.
I'm always happy to come. Like, the community here and creators, it's very exhilarating.
How are you? Because you travel so much, man.
Well, it's part of like growing an ecosystem, and I think it's really helped Sandbox to become more known globally. And they've, like you mentioned, we have 8 regional offices. It really came because we were able to touch and be more accessible to local creators in Hong Kong, in Korea, in Japan, in Thailand, in Singapore, or Turkey.
So I hear a majority of the cities are in Asia. What's the reasoning behind that?
Sandbox now has like over 5 million users with a wallet. It's a 20% year-on-year increase, and Asia represents 31% of that.
Wow.
And that is actually the result of like 2 years of effort, as like exactly what I was saying, like being present locally next to like those different creators hub and communities that are more dynamic. And when we look back, basically we saw that it's always been there. You know, the first investors that joined Sandbox and supported Sandbox back in 2019, Square Enix from Japan, Hash from Korea, Animoca Brands from Hong Kong, and True Global Venture, which is like a global fund. So somehow I felt like Sandbox resonate very well to like Asian brands, to Asian creators, to the notion of virtual world, of gaming, of virtual estate, of blockchain as well. So, well, let's go where like it's actually growing, where people understand better, and where we can make an actual impact.
Talk to us about kind of like your thought process when you created the Sandbox. There must be some sort of driving force in you, because to run a 400 employee company is not easy. And in Web3, in crypto, for those of you who may not know, it's more of like building in public. You know, it's more of like, it's not just a public company where you go for an IPO, but now you actually, you know, have direct access to the community. You get direct feedback, both good and bad. How is that like?
I think it's part of like really empowering, it's part of our mission. Our mission has been like, how do we empower a creator? You want those creators to like receive like the value of like the whatever they contribute to, whether like bringing content, bringing users, growing the platform all together. So it's quite natural in that sense. We've been really always focused on user-generated content, and I've always been frustrated, even since I started Sandbox in 2011, in us being dependent on the platform, on the featuring, on something that wasn't allowing us to reward the people who made our success. So Web3 is very community driven. It's the idea of supporting the player, supporting the creator, developing a new model where the value proposition is more fair for everyone who participate into that. Players, developers, creators, platform. And I feel it's not necessarily easy or easier in a sense, but it's a different mindset. Like, we're not competing with the other studios, the other developers. We're not competing with the platform. We are not trying to take advantage of one part or another. Like, we're just trying to align everyone's interest and like make sure it benefits to everyone. And by network effect, it actually does. So that's why we're very excited in general at Sandbox, like with new collaboration, developing new markets, seeing the creators and empowering the creators. And it feels like it's just normal. It's the way like it should be operated to get the people. And that's being translated, for example, in the map of Sandbox.
Yes.
The Sandbox as a virtual world has a map of 166, 164 lands. Those lands, we've sold about 75%. We through like neighborhood sale where we introduce by brand or by region of the world or by thematic, sport, music, fashion. And we have 24,500 unique landowners.
Wow.
They are
24,000.
basically the stakeholders of that world that we are building. And the players with their avatars, which are also are NFTs, they are the citizens of that world that we are building. So we can make the comparison with the physical world, like people with their avatar, they are bringing traffic, they are creating value, they are transacting, they are playing, they are engaging, socializing and more. Landowners, they are building the land, the experience, the businesses, the restaurants, the shops, etc., like in the physical world. And you need both of them, and you need both of them to support both of them so that the economy, and here we're talking about the digital world economy, move forward and benefits to everyone.
Since the first time I met you, like a couple months back, I've always been very curious on kind of like your background, and because in order to build in Web3, you need a pretty thick skin, right? Because I mean, the price of the token goes up and down. You've got people who are always, I mean, there's always going to be people that are critical about what you do. Where did you get this passion to even want to be with these people? And I mean, they're basically strangers, right? So you must have this kind of tendency and passion towards just human beings in general.
You know, like Web3 brings a lot of different people, generally speaking. Like we talk about Web3, but it's a technology at the end of the day. The technology brings then people who are passionate about like programming, coding, the potential that blockchain does. But there's also like digital asset that can have value. So it brings people who are interested into the financial aspect of it. And then as a platform, like Sandbox is focused on user-generated content, we also bring a lot of creators. The balance is like, how do you, the challenge or like what's interesting is like, how do you bring the right balance of all of that? And so you don't have just over one side only or another side, but you have a greater diversity of it. And I'm always thinking like, if I'm someone who's passionate about a topic and I want to approach Sandbox, like what would I want to hear? Like I want to be inspired of what I can do with Sandbox in the current state it is, and how in a way Sandbox can help me. Putting myself in the shoes of people who approach us, like we feel like we are a platform, we say Web3 is inclusive, Web3 is about community. You don't want to reject people based on their idea, you just want to help them maybe funnel their idea in the direction of what can be done today and what it can become in a few months or years afterwards, and always inspiring people. So I guess for me it's all about like inspiring and empowering.
Did you have a role model as you were growing up that just kind of like sparked that kind of like fire in you, that passion in you as you were growing up?
I guess like, of course, I always wanted to make video games. I always dream about like the entrepreneur in more like a garage startup model. So Bill Gates, when I was younger and I saw like Microsoft, Windows 95 and so on, I kind of drove it. But then afterwards, I also more recently and more related to like what I do, like I feel since we've joined and we're part of the Animoca Brands Group, has been a great model to follow as like someone who builds vision, brings people together, has been able really to support the growth of the Web3 and blockchain gaming ecosystem in general. My business partner as well, Arthur Madrid, we've been over 16 years we work together across multiple startups. We are very complementary in many aspects. So it's also quite inspiring. And then I guess like you're lucky to like meet many entrepreneurs. It might not be like the billionaire entrepreneur, but everyone has had their challenges at some point of the journey of an entrepreneur. And the fact that you just get to talk with them about that and share and exchange, at some point, their experience can become valuable for you and vice versa. And that's also why I like to bring, I said a lot of my value is not in my money or the support, financial support that Sandbox or myself can provide to an ecosystem. It's about the time that we can have in the conversation and how can we help you at this moment on the challenge you have and just exchange information. That's why I like really to support an ecosystem of entrepreneur, startup project. And also I chose to become the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which now counts 600 members.
Wow.
So hopefully and even more true in Web3, like the success of the ecosystem will be beneficial to everyone in it. So there is really this logic of like a network effect and not everyone competing with each other, where like if you found something successful, you absolutely want to keep it a secret so nobody else knows it, because then you might feed your competitor. On the other side, you want everyone to know, and so they can like benefit from it and grow from it for the benefit of our industry.
It's a mindset that not that many people have, because most people, especially in Web2, when they have an idea, it's quite rare that they would share it because they are scared or worried that someone might steal it. But it's pretty opposite for the culture in Web3. There seems to be a more open. Now, were your parents passionate and driven, and were they business people as well?
No, like my parents are not business people. My father is a dentist. My mother has been selling product, cosmetic, and giving like personal care advice.
Right.
So rather simple in general, and it's more like the mentality. Like you want to do good, and you know, like when you do good, when you help others, it will come back in one way or another.
Wow.
I do believe that really, and so that's why I try to be as supportive with everyone. You never know if it's now, in 5 years, in 10 years. I've been an entrepreneur since 2008. I've been in mobile gaming since 2011. In mobile gaming, I attended a lot of conferences every year. You never know who you're going to meet at those conferences. You have interesting random conversations sometimes. You could find like 99% of those conversations will not lead to like any concrete business, etc. But you know what? After 2 years, 3 years, that person I met, he changed the company. Now, instead of trying to sell me a product or service, he is now building something that can be useful, or he can connect me with another person that ultimately leads towards something very valuable. It happened a lot. It actually also happened forward, like why we joined Animoca Brands Group. It didn't happen overnight. It's because we learned as well through the years and those conferences to follow what we are doing in the business, the regular update. And at one point of time, we found like we are aligned on our roadmap, and it could make sense work together on something bigger, which was like blockchain games. It shows consistency. Like sometimes it's not about just like being opportunistic, it's just being consistent around like what you do, and people can see and feel that too.
It's a sense of patience as well that not many people have right now, especially in the era of social media, where we are able to just scroll things that we don't like and we just swipe away things that we don't like. I think quite a lot of people want instant results, but in your case, it seems like it's through consistency, it's through consistent actions that led to the right doors and the right opportunities that then led to the higher breakthroughs in the business as well.
Yes, and you can reflect that generally speaking as well. Like how do you accumulate experience? Experience comes from sometimes like accumulating failures, not success, right? So few people will find right away the solution to their problem on the first time, or they cannot solve a problem in 5 minutes always, right? It takes time. So you have any way to grow and learn to be patient to reach the result. You have to also learn that kind of resilience and ability to sometimes self-evaluate yourself. Like if people tell me what we're doing doesn't make sense, maybe they might not always be right. No, others don't know, but there might be a percentage of truth in it. So let's find what is that truth? What is that thing that they are seeing that I'm not seeing? I usually tend to think like being stubborn on what you're doing is not necessarily the best way. It's more like keeping an open mindset and the ability to process among all the information you receive if there's any signals that tells you, oh, maybe I need to pivot a little bit here, change the value proposition, refocus on am I targeting the right audience, the right market.
If you could pick one core value that your team is driven by, what would be the one thing that you pick?
Our team is so passion about the core mission, like how do we empower anyone to become a creator, and we have these tools that inspire people. I can feel it whenever I travel. I see those conferences, those booths, meeting with the creators, the communities, the ecosystem. They all want to build something great and positive that drives some impact, some form of like onboarding other people, sharing culture, sharing knowledge. I think like that idea that Sandbox is a platform where culture meets gaming is a great way to describe it, where it's not just your traditional gaming experience, it's something more. more. It's social. It includes fashion, art, music, museum, gallery, tourism, education, among other things. And I like people to see like we can do something that's unique, that's different, and still people can access very easily through an avatar.
Are you stressed about mass adoption in general? Because this is a topic that's always on X, right? When is mass adoption going to come if the price fluctuation of crypto is so high? Does this stress you out at all? Or
I think there are very two different topics, and like fluctuation of crypto market or in general like a financial market, they are things you don't control. So first of all, like why spend time on things you don't control? Focus on what is the area of where you can make an impact. It's also like quite wrong to think of adoption in terms of like financial market. Like people use product without transacting and selling and buying all the time. Like when you were saying like swiping left, right, and not in Sandbox, people spend 62 minutes on average daily. Exploring world, but they don't buy every single minute, right? So the volume might not be affected by the growing engagement and the growing number of content available and the growing number of content of creators. We have over 130,000 creators active every month since the beginning of 2023. And then adoption. Adoption, again, I don't think it will come overnight. It might accelerate at some point, but to get adoption, you need content. Great content, fun content, different content than other platforms. To get that, you have to attract creators. How do you attract creators? Yes, chicken and egg problem. The way we solve it at Sandbox is by bringing the brands and allowing people to create for those brands with Game Jam, mixing their favorite characters, imagining their own world. And that's something that we see like it's growing. From our belief is like 2024 will be the year of creators, and adoption will probably come later, 2025 and so on, because Sandbox doesn't have the mobile version as well, because there's still some friction on onboarding and so on. But allowing anyone to become a creator, I think it's something that will never run out of steam. It's something that UGC is here forever. It's the future of gaming, actually. I don't see any game that doesn't have a level of user-generated content. People want to participate in the game they like. They want to build their characters, build their levels, invent the stories, make their mods, etc. We've seen that with Minecraft, we've seen that Roblox, Fortnite, GTA 5, all those games live on forever now that the community has took them and reshaped them the way they wanted. With Sandbox, we being so much UGC-centric at the core, I feel like whether it takes us 5, 10, 20 years, like we're on the right track and we offer something which attract creators from all around the world because we have those 8 different regional offices and we bring local brands like in Thailand, etc.
It's very rare to find a company that really understands the importance of UGC and is also actively out there with the people, reaching out to the community and being with actual local people as well, like how you guys have Sky here in Thailand. It is really, I mean, off the books, but I mean, from my experience, no other metaverses, they don't have someone that's here.
Well, I think it's so important. Like, I feel like if you have this approach, like, okay, we have to grow the Western market first, and once we are so big in the US or Europe, we'll look at Asia, is wrong. And it's still what Roblox or Minecraft, etc. have done. In our case, like, we are very Asia-centric first. We're like the creators are interested, and we find the right people who also share that passion to bring up, to bring creativity to life. So Sky, but our other head of countries are doing an amazing job.
They are
growing those local communities, and like it really helps Sandbox to grow. So you cannot say like Metaverse is dead or Web3 is dead. It's not right. Like I'm here in Thailand and it's so alive. I was in Turkey just a few days ago. It's so alive. It's just you have to look at the right place where it is happening, thanks to the effort of people on the ground, because the world is not flat and it's not the same everywhere at the same time.
I love that. Just some word of advice for perhaps young founders or young people who want to start something. How did you get started, and how did you build and have that, you know, career journey to become right now and like a co-founder of one of the biggest metaverses in the world, right?
I graduated from an engineering school.
Okay.
I did an exchange program at the Chinese University of Hong Kong on my last year. That really opened me perspective around Asia as well. From there, I traveled a bit, discovering Thailand, Vietnam, as well as like China, of course. I met my co-founder while I was doing that program. He reached to me online and we started to work together. And when I came back to France, we worked together on this first startup, which was like about peer-to-peer technology, one of the first application of decentralization, by the way. Then we kept on going with another startup, which was sharing your photo, video, and music in the cloud, creating like library with your friend and streaming them from anywhere. And then the mobile game studio in 2011. So through that journey, I believe we've always been pioneer in a certain space of technology, and we think like, how do we make that technology accessible to everyone? I think that's like really a driving thematic through that journey. We've also been through like hard times, we've been through challenges. You see how Sandbox is today. It's probably the largest business venture we'll ever have. But I've also been struggling as a traditional game studio in the mobile game industry with a small team, with revenue that didn't allow us to grow or to acquire users. I felt also like, well, basically all the things that makes like the journey of an entrepreneur with all its up and down. But if you look back, surprisingly, I never remember the bad time, the hard time. I only remember the good time, and I look back 1 year ago. Where was I 1 year ago? Where was I 5, 10 years ago? I say, all right, well, what's interesting? I learned so many things. I travel to new countries. I have people that I manage that runs things. So I grow an ecosystem, I grow a community. There's different things that happen, but I only seem to, maybe it's my memory that's too selective, but in a way that helps me to keep sight of like, okay, like hard time, there will be always challenges, hard time, and you deal with them on daily basis. But if you only remember about good, positive thing on that journey, well, like it's exciting to keep moving forward. You want to keep those things to happen, right? So that's maybe what makes me as an entrepreneur want to continue no matter what and keep building.
That's very beautiful. I think that's the first time that I've actually heard that, because most people, they tend to have, through the hard times, they remember those harsh days very vividly. But in your case, it seems like the good days are the days that actually keep you pushing through the hard days. What would you say to the founders or the projects or the business people that are struggling right now? What advice would you have for them?
There's not one single magic response to that question. Like you have to analyze like what could be the reason that makes you struggle. Like I said, is it about like the product market fit? Is it about like your funding at the moment? I think it helps to speak, to get advisors, people who in the space have somehow like achieved. I also say like it's practically impossible that nobody haven't thought about the same idea as you.
Yeah.
Today, like impossible. You're not, like innovation is no longer that groundbreaking to like, you wake up one day, I'm going to do that, and like, oh, nobody else. So start with like analyzing better who is your competition and why your competitors are doing better or are not struggling in the area where you are struggling. Most of the time, just getting to understand, testing the competitor product helps you to go through that journey of like, maybe they figured out something I didn't. You have most of the time the answers by yourself, but you need the external advisor or trigger to provide you the thing. And then if you're not ready to listen, nobody else can help you. That's also something I notice quite often, like the people who are able to go through the hard time or to pivot, etc., they have that ability to accept that they might not be in the right and they need to adapt. It's being an entrepreneur is all about flexibility. It's not about being right all the time.
Thanks. I think quite a lot of people that get to hear this back is gonna find a lot of value. It was amazing, man. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
I'd love to teleport.
Okay.
Actually, I feel like I travel a lot more those days recently, but sometimes like playing myself in the Metaverse, I say, oh wow, it's so convenient to move to different places from there to there. Yeah, that would be a very cool superpower.
Wow, that's a really good answer, man. What's your personal definition of community? Because I think this word is used a lot by people, but it seems like the manifestation of that word to the different projects, founders, businesses, as well as the actual people that's involved in the ecosystem is not the same. What's your version?
I would get the definition of community closer to what I call a super fan. The super fan is like, or super fans is a group of people. They don't need to be a lot of them, but they are in a way committed to participate and contribute to the success, the overall success of the project. So it doesn't matter to have 1 million people in a committee if they are like all passive listener. You prefer to have a smaller 100 people, 1,000 people who are actually going to take a step in to attend an event. It doesn't need to be a big event like a community meetup, a breakfast, a dinner. We organize those quite a few times around our different countries. They are present, they come, they like to listen, they like to ask you questions. They are not also necessarily always in agreement with what you do. Actually, you need to accept like the feedback from the community and the criticism of that community. That's very normal from them since they have a stake in the game. I also like to think like there are people who contribute in various forms. So community of creators, like they are actually using game makers, they are publishing on their land. There are people, community posting on Twitter their content and so on. So that's how I would approach community.
I've actually never thought about that. Super fans. That's beautiful. What is it about building or creating that you are attracted to the most, aside from the ability to empower people?
I feel like, well, with user-generated content, you never run out of like things to create. And the power of the crowd contribution will always be better like than what a single team can do. So if we were to produce every single experience at Sandbox, it will be a long process, a slow process, and ultimately maybe not as good or fun as a result as what the power of thousands of millions of creators can do. And also I love to see that moment, that realization that I have that capability in me, I have that skill, I can create. It's not something that only a few people have, like everyone can be a creator. Actually, I think the future of humanity is all about, we will all be creators, because if not, like AI will take over and do all the rest, right? So the beauty of creation doesn't need to be like successful, recognized, etc. But it's a very interesting process that helps you as well to get out of like your maybe the current rhythm of life that you have, etc. So it's a very liberating process and empowering one. Sometimes like you don't need to create for millions of people, you can create just for you, you can create for a few fans.
Wow, that's another viewpoint that I've also never thought about. When you hear the word creator, right, from mainstream media, like you think about influencers, you think about big stars, but just now you mentioned, you can actually create for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you believe that all of us can become creators?
I do believe so, and that's why we have a platform like Sandbox. That's why we chose no code, and we are going to integrate more AI. We already have, in many aspects, AI in Sandbox. We keep pushing for it.
That was a jam-packed session. Thank you so much. Amazing. Very beautiful. I think quite a lot of people are going to be inspired. Now, just to close this off, if you could leave a one-word advice for the younger version of yourself, what would you say to him?
Interesting. Well, I probably think like really put a lot of passion into certain projects that didn't turn out well, unfortunately, and well, you should have stopped some of them much earlier so you can prioritize on the one that works. So in a way, like double down on what works and learn how to say sometimes to stop or to pivot on the thing that didn't. Other than that, I believe like, well, everything comes at the right time. You have to have this alignment of like the right product, right market, right technology. Blockchain didn't exist until recently, but all the experience you accumulated, they will be useful somehow. You will learn how to put it best in practice all at once, and not necessarily at the time or the way you think, but it will be useful to always learn what's the key takeaway of that. What's the key takeaway of that meeting, of my day, of my month, of that year. That's interesting to put in perspective.
What a beautiful way to end the show. So thank you for watching, guys, and stay tuned on the next one. Hope you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Mr. Sebastian.
Thank you
so
as
much.
well.